Hello and welcome to Fresh-Faced Comics, the comic book podcast where a lifelong comic book reader guides his friend through the world of comics for the first time. My name is Joey Morgan, the aforementioned lifelong reader. With me is Jacob Licklider, the aforementioned newbie.
Hello.
Last time on Fresh-Faced Comics, we discussed Jacob's first Batman comic, The Long Halloween. Today we are continuing through the world of Batman with The Killing Joke. I'm so excited for today. Like this is one of those Batman comics that was one of the first things that I read. It struck me so it struck me when I first read it, and I hope it did the same to you. I know I know you have some interesting thoughts to go over as we begin today.
I have lots of thoughts. It's a little interesting because this is one of those, like Long Halloween was a name that I knew nothing about. Killing Joke, this is one going in that I knew certain plot points.
Yeah,
certain plot points, not how they related to one another, and there were some interesting surprises.
Indeed. I'm sure we'll get into those. Yeah. If that being said, if you have not seen episode 1, go check it out on the channel. It is right there. It's done very well. Thank you all for all the support on episode 1. It really does mean a lot. It was just a really great discussion.
We are both genuinely surprised how well it's done. So thank you.
That being said, the view count compared to the subscriber count is astounding. So please, if you're at all interested in where we're going from here, the first episodes will be very Batman focused. So if you're into Batman comics, consider subscribing. We're moving into a lot more DC stuff later. So if you're into any of that, consider subscribing. We have a lot of fun ideas planned, most of which Jacob does not know about because he does not want to know what comics we're reading until we record the episodes. So
I like
knew about ahead of time. Yeah, it'll be fun.
This one I knew about a day ahead of time.
Yeah. So, as with last time, there will be a non-spoiler section. In this case, not a very long non-spoiler section because the actual Killing Joke comic is only like 46 pages, so there isn't much room to talk about non-spoilery things. That said, you mentioned earlier that you knew certain things going into it, and I think a lot of people know certain things about the Killing Joke going into it. At least the inciting incident that sets everything off. So
I knew that, and I knew sort of one of the features, sort of the, I guess you'd call it the subplot, the flashback subplot. Like I knew that was.
So you did know about the flashbacks, okay? Because I wasn't sure about that. If you knew about them going in,
I just didn't connect that one famous panel to this.
Yeah. So we'll get into that, I'm sure. So
we should also probably say we are both reading the newer edition that uses Brian Boland's coloring.
I mean, hardly anyone has the original Higgins coloring, so it's it's there, but they're very scarce. So most people know the deluxe edition coloring, and Brian Boland's colors just absolutely shine. I adore them. So
I only have one complaint about the colors, and it is that famous panel. The Haas in the background are white, and I'm like, you could have coloring those in. I think would have made an interesting choice as the purple. I prefer the purple just on that one panel.
I don't know. I quite like them white, actually. And honestly, if I were to color them, I'd probably make them red myself.
Interesting.
Well, to sort of match the blood in the eyes. I think that might look pretty cool. But
it's sort of going to this wizard. I take that entire flashback sequence as sort of doing a Wizard of Oz thing.
But in that case, though, with the way it's colored now, each of the flashbacks have that one little red element in each of them, where the rest is black and white. So I think making them red would make sense.
Red would make sense. So. I just think the white is a bit too. It's too close to that black and white.
This is an odd tangent to begin the episode on.
Yes, it is.
This is a really odd tangent to begin the episode on. Sorry about that. So, okay, so you've read the Killing Joke for the first time. I want to know your non-spoiler thoughts to kick us off.
It's brilliant. We are going to have some discussions in deep depth, and I know we're going to go critical in the spoiler section. but it is
Mhm.
there is a lot packed into these 46 pages. Um,
Mhm.
and I think a piece of context you gave me, that this was originally meant to just be an Elseworld story,
Yeah, I mean,
also helps.
the idea of Elseworld stories weren't like really a thing, but like the closest that we would have had at the time, like Dark Knight Returns when it was first published, was an Elseworld story. Like nobody really took that as like, oh yeah, yeah, this is where the Batman story is going. Um, and so this was sort of in that same vein, something published outside of the main continuity, but has since been incorporated into the main continuity.
In some ways, it it the writing. Uh, one thing one thing I noticed is that it seems to all be it's pretty much all through dialogue. It's
Yeah,
dialogue
yeah.
and visuals.
There's no inner monologue throughout it, which I think
There's
is an
there's
interesting
I think there's like
choice.
one instance of inner monologue,
Which
very early on, and you
is
don't quite know. It's there were two guys in
oh
the
yeah,
lunatic
well
asylum
oh yeah,
that.
it's that echoed line from the end of the comic. Yeah,
Well, let's
that's
start
right.
there. It's in the begin. It's on like the second page, second or third page,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's sort of just a weird omniscient narrator, um,
Mhm.
sort of thing. You never know who, if it's meant to be Batman, if it's meant to be the Joker, who's meant to be thinking that line. I think it's just meant to be omniscient to give the idea. Um, uh, one thing, um, the one thing that stood out to me is actually Boland's art and coloring. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I fucking love Brian Boland's artwork. It really it it's he's one of those artists that feels very definitive when he draws, like that is like the look of the Joker for me. Like that is what he should typically look like when I imagine the Joker being drawn in a comic.
I mean,
Um
yeah. Well, or I mean, it's his designs that are most influence on that. It's somehow both very much influenced by, oddly enough, Cesar Romero's Joker. I see a lot of Romero in the
mm,
way he draws the Joker, and then
I
I
agree.
see a lot of this in then Jack Nicholson as the
Mm.
Joker.
Yeah,
Um,
and also I think what's really cool about the design that he uses for Joker in this is it almost looks like a modernization of the Golden Age Joker, like from back when he was like first introduced. I don't know if you've ever seen any like pictures of the first appearance of the Joker. It's sort of a modernization of that. I think we actually get a bit of that in this, right? When Batman's in the Batcave and we have those pictures of the Joker up on the Bat computer. I think you see. No, never mind. Oh no,
it's
you can. Oh no, there is a brief shot of a Golden Age Joker in there. Yeah, it's really interesting that that this
is
version of the
it.
Joker almost looks like a modernization of it. It's that first page in the
No,
Batcave.
I'm on. Yeah, I'm on that page. Is it, which panel is it? Is it the
It would be looking at the
upper
computer.
right?
It would be the bottom left one. Looking at the computer. Do you see it?
The bottom, with that very pronounced chin, sort of.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. No, I do recognize that image.
Or sorry. Did I say bottom? Sorry, I meant bottom left of that page of that panel.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, below where it says "a name unknown," that whole thing. Yeah, that would be that look.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I've seen that.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I just love Boland's artwork. But speaking on Alan Moore, because oddly enough, Alan Moore is one of the few comic writers that you are familiar with before
yes.
started this
Yes.
podcast, because you've read Watchmen. How does this compare, at least, like on a writing level? I'm
Um,
curious.
I might prefer this to Watchmen if I'm honest, but that might just be
Hmm,
personal preference because in Watchmen everyone's kind of awful.
that's
Like, and
true.
that's kind of
That's
the
true.
story that he's
But also,
telling. And
I also, I
while
also
I
think.
love those types of stories, I don't like those types of stories all the time.
Mhm. I also
Um,
think because it's such a short comic, like Alan Moore, like does not waste a single page, and it's weird to say that because there are some completely dialogueless pages,
the
but
first two
the,
pages are
yeah, we get
no
a couple
dialogue.
pages. Yeah, we get a couple pages in the middle where Batman's trying to find out where the Joker is. Those are completely dialogueless. Uh, and it's you still feel like you're actively engaging in the story. You're not just like flipping through the page, you're like, oh, there's a picture, there's a picture. No, it's not that. These are active parts of the story.
It's it's beautiful visual storytelling of flow. Like a bad
Yeah,
comic, um, a bad a bad comic would have perhaps taken the first 2 pages and condensed it down to 1 page.
like you can tell
Um,
the script. You could tell the script for this. Like Moore must have written down painstakingly what each and every panel should focus on, what every single panel should show, and what information we should get from it. Look at these first 2 pages alone, right down to the psychiatrist who they walk by and has, sorry, the receptionist that has the little like plaque on her desk that says, "You don't have to be crazy to work here, but it helps." I fucking love it. Like they're just little details like that really stick out and shine. I think. Them
Also, the
past
inclusion of Two-Face for
right,
one
them past
panel,
by Two Faces cell. I love it.
which is very important because of it's a very subtle foreshadowing of how this comic ends.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's not just like, oh yeah, we need a Batman villain for them to walk by. No, that's a character that actually represents the duality of Batman and Joker, I think.
And the way Two-Face is designed here also kind of gives him a Jokerish edge.
Yeah, yeah.
with with
Um,
with the green hair, because obviously I don't know, but I've never seen Two-Face with green hair. Um,
yeah, yeah, that's fair. I think there's like some old like really old first couple Two-Face appearances where he has some green in him, whether his face be drawn green or he has green hair. It's not like a
fair.
conscious decision to be like, oh yeah, the Two-Face is green, but it's one of those weird like old coloring decisions. I
Yeah,
also,
but I imagine here this is a deliberate choice
mhm.
to.
I mean, look on like the very first panel of this comic. The very first panel is foreshadowing. It reflects the very end of the comic. It's fascinating. I love it. Um, those couple panels where we see Batman walk into the Joker's cell, just absolutely striking visuals of Joker just throwing down some playing cards as Batman tries to talk to him and Joker just doesn't respond. And there's so many great little moments like that early on that really set the tone for where the rest of it's going, and it's a fascinating read.
Yeah, and well, yeah, and I just checked. The first and last panels are essentially the same panel,
Yeah, yep,
uh,
it's
which
great. I
is
love it.
really really good and I think really important. I I also think this is a comic where Moore is actively, because I mean Moore didn't really do your standard popular DC superheroes, did he?
No,
Like
no,
he did
almost
Watchmen,
almost never.
which is a commentary. He did I know he did Swamp Thing, but like
Well,
Swamp Thing's
Something was a failing product at the time. Alan Moore was brought in because nobody cared about Swamp Thing at the time, and he was brought in to sort of
yeah.
reinvent the character.
But he did what League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is his tribute to Victorian, post-Victorian literature.
Yep.
Um,
V for Vendetta, which is about as far from a typical superhero book as you'll find. It's great. I love it. It's yeah. So this is like the most traditional superhero like Alan Moore has ever done, and mostly it seems to be because of Brian Boland. You read in the deluxe edition, you have the amazing forward and afterward by Tim Sale and Brian Boland, where they talk about what it was like to work on these. Moore almost like this wasn't a passion project for Moore, but it still speaks as a Moore product, and you get that same feeling that you get reading Watchmen or V for Vendetta, and it speaks with that same volume. You know, Alan Moore didn't just write it off because oh, this is a superhero, this is a popular superhero. You know, everyone will buy it, whatever. No, this is still a really great project. You know, no matter how the writer himself should feel about it, I think it's great.
and you're gonna see something in there. It's Alan Moore just as a person is. I want to put this nicely.
What is Alan Moore as a person, Jacob?
Eccentric, and that's probably not even doing it justice.
No, I wouldn't say so. Man, oh,
Because what he prays to a roaming snake deity.
yeah,
Like he's also he also from his work, the two pieces of work that I've read, he seems very nihilistic. Um,
Oh, very, very. Yeah,
there's a
that bleeds through all of
um,
his. Yeah.
yeah, and not to do a treatise on philosophy, but nihilism is different from existentialism in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Nihilism is almost hopeless in my view. It's looking at the a purposeless world and essentially saying there's not much we can do. It's and you see that in Watchmen being Watchmen, and you see that here, because this is I don't want to go too far, but this is a book all about lives in a way falling apart.
Yeah.
Um,
So, oh, speaking of, that is a great transition into the next point I wanted to bring up. Let's talk about the flashbacks briefly, without saying too much, because if you haven't read the comic, the flashbacks are something else to behold. But the flashbacks follow this guy who's trying to make it as a comedian, and um, and he's trying to. Yeah, he has a wife who has a baby on the way, and they live in poverty, and he needs to do something drastic to get them out of the position that they're in their lives, and I think I think the flashbacks for me really make the book. They're like for me, they're the backbone of the book. I love the dichotomy of Batman and Joker, but I really, really love the flashbacks. What did you make of them?
um, uh, I love the way they. Okay, again, this is it's such a hard book to talk about, so I'm trying to make sure I'm light on spoilers. Um, I think they're very important for what Moore is trying to say, partially for how ambiguous Moore is trying to be.
Mm,
Because there's ambiguity. People always talk about the ambiguous ending, but there are certain things in the flashbacks in particular that when you're reading it, and if you're reading it with, and you're actively reading it, you're not just looking at it and taking it at face value. Moore is saying something about. Is it a spoiler to say what sort of the outcome of the flashbacks?
I
But
mean,
that
it's easy to say the flashbacks end in the guy's life ending horribly. We could say
yes,
that. Yeah, it's Alan
the way
Moore. The
the
guy's
way
life
the
is terrible.
guy's life ends horribly is not as some people like to interpret it.
I agree. This was one of the few points that you talked to me about before we actually recorded it, and I found myself absolutely agreeing with you because it's a side of the book that a lot of people don't look at, and a lot of people like sort of say like, oh yeah, this is a guy whose life is turned upside down. This is someone who
And it
this never
is,
would have
but
happened to.
also it's not.
Yeah.
It's,
I mean, honestly, we're running pretty close to about the same amount of time that our non-spoiler section was in the last episode. You want to just move into spoilers at this point?
yeah, I think this is the point where we can move into spoilers because, yeah,
Honestly, we've gotten way farther than I thought we would in a non-spoiler section for Killing Joke.
and
So
I'm being very careful with the words that I speak. And
so yeah, so let this be a very clear spoiler warning. We're now moving into spoilers. If you don't know the
yeah,
Killing
I will
Joke,
say before non spoilers, go out and read this book. It is.
yeah. I mean, if
This
it wasn't
is.
clear, if it wasn't clear from the million other people recommending this book to you, read this book. Yeah,
Um,
it's good. It's very, very good. So moving into spoilers, let's start on the flashbacks, I guess. So the guy is the
well,
Joker. No
so the
shit.
guy is the Joker, and so anyone who knows this story is the big monologue at the end of the near the end is that the Joker gives about how it only takes one bad day to drive a man mad.
Mhm.
And part of Moore's point is that that idea is patently false. Um, and I will
Well,
lay this out
the
from.
whole book is about proving that point wrong. Not just through through Batman and Gordon rejecting that message, but through these flashbacks showing that honestly, the Joker wasn't even really a good guy before he became the
No,
Joker.
there is. It's the way he's drawn and the things he does to his wife
It's no
heavily
it's
imply that he's an abusive, neglectful asshole.
but also the way he's drawn. You look at, I'm assuming you're looking at the book right now. Looking at the
Yeah,
first page where the flashback, look at the first page where the flashbacks start. Look at the third and fifth panels. That is a very quick shift in his tone. I think the way he's drawn them.
yeah.
This is a
He is
mentally unstable
pissed
man. I
to
think
sad. He's mentally unstable, and he's emotionally manipulating his wife.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that subtext is definitely there. The way that the way the dialogue's written too. Where he like immediately turns and he's like, "Oh, what do you mean, oh?" And and he has like this whole rant at her, and then he like breaks down and cries. It's is it gaslighting? Is it fair to say it's gaslighting
It's
almost?
it's abuse. It's not gaslighting, because gaslighting is a particular subset of lying. But it's drilling. It's drilling your partner basically into getting the reaction that you want.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
At,
it,
at the
the
same
Joker is
time,
not a good person.
yeah, at the same time, you can tell they do love each other, and there is a relationship there, but clearly they should not be in this relationship at this point.
No, no,
Yeah,
and well, and
it's
then
not a good indication.
it's even later. It is even later uh, explained that he left a good job to become a comedian. Now, this is not, and now some people may take this as a don't pursue silly jobs. No, because I can guarantee you that chemical job that he had, there would have been time for him to also do comedy on the side and build that up if he was,
Mhm.
making a plan and getting to where he wants to be. Like more isn't saying screw a career in the arts. No, more is saying, don't don't do the obvious, let your life fall apart, because
Mhm.
this is a man who has basically made his own life fall apart.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So,
uh,
uh, we have the second flashback then, where he's met by the two mobster guys, and I think you could easily overlook this flashback because it's the one that does the least for the flashbacks because there are what four of them I think, and it really doesn't do that much for it. But I fucking love the way it's drawn. I love the way the colors in particular, the way the colors are used in this one, where like the red hood that they give him is the only color there, and the shrimp that they're eating are all red. But I really do love these characters. They're they're very one dimensional, but I really do love what they represent in this story. These are the more obvious
well,
bad guys.
it's the obvious bad guys, and you're also dealing with an unreliable narrator. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So,
like,
so in these flashbacks, someone like Joker is seeing these people as like, oh yeah, these are the guys. These are the ones that made my life bad. They're the reason that my life is horrible now. It's very easy for someone like the Joker to look at someone and try to blame them for the way their life is. Hell, each of these flashbacks has someone in particular where the Joker can point a finger at and say, "Oh yeah, this is the one." The landlady in the first flashback, like, "Oh yeah, she hates me. She wants us to live in poverty." The two guys
and
here, these are the
but
guys
it's also
that
telling the way the landlady is drawn. The landlady doesn't look angry. She looks
Mhm.
sad and concerned.
Look at the cops in the third flashback. They're sympathetic, but no, the Joker can point at them and say, "Oh yeah, no, these are the guys that told me my wife is dead. They're the reason I'm evil." Look at the way Batman's drawn in the fourth one. He's this menacing figure that comes towards the Joker, and he sees him through these.
He's the monstrous bat.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, these are the people that made my life horrible. It's one bad day. These are the guys that did it to me. It's not my fault I'm evil. It's a victim complex, and I think it's a really interesting deconstruction of the Joker's character.
yes.
And I know like a lot of people get really get really like stiff about, you know, well, like, should the Joker have an origin? The Joker should never have a definitive way that they came to be. The Joker
Well,
says it
and
later on. He,
more
he
isn't
has a
intending this to be definitive. Like from the first flashback panel, you can tell something's not entirely truthful here.
mhm. Yeah, it's Yeah, like the Joker says later on in the book, he says like I want my past to be multiple choice. You know, we didn't even know that any of this even happened. It could be complete bullshit. You know, so I really do love the flashbacks. But I guess since we are in spoiler territory, we should actually talk about the story, huh?
We should
So
talk about the story.
maybe.
So well, let's start at the beginning again,
Okay.
because this is a very interesting thing, because we in the book we don't really. Batman goes to see the Joker, and he wants to talk things out. That is how we open this book.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because Moore doesn't let the audience know why.
Yeah, I think the idea is that it's meant to be like pretty far down in the Batman timeline, like towards the end of either of their careers, and Batman is making this one like last ditch effort to say like, okay, we could try to still work this out so that we don't end up killing each other.
Yeah. And through the entire thing, you have the Joker in shadow, and I was fooled for the time. I thought, I thought, Batman would leave, then the Joker would escape, and we'd have the rest of the
Mm.
comic. But
But
then
it's a
it's like,
great reveal
oh,
because the Joker like it stays completely silent the whole time. He's flipping these playing cards. He's just playing a game with himself, and Batman's sick of it,
and
so he
it's
like
very much
grabs.
like my brain. It's like, oh, he's fucking with Batman.
Yeah,
He's
which
fucking
is
with him.
this is all very in character for the Joker. It's you don't see anything wrong with it. So Batman grabs Joker's hand because he's sick of his shit, and the white makeup from it sort of smears on his glove, and Batman realizes that the Joker's not about to escape. He's already escaped, and he stuck some guy in a cell to pretend to be him as he goes off and makes preparations for this for whatever evil thing he's planning now, and thus the
And
story begins.
it's this nice, it's um, a derelict carnival,
Mm-hmm.
which is um, which you get like one, just the establishment right. He's out. Um, you get you you get some great humor in that first little
Oh
bit.
yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, I fucking love
like
the bit where he does like the whole monologue. He's like, "Oh, the rides are dilapidated. They could be lethal. They can easily maim or kill anyone." He's like, "Oh, so you don't like it?
innocent
You don't
little
like it?"
children. Oh, so you
Yeah,
don't like it? Don't like it? I'm crazy for it.
fucking
Um,
great. Um, oh,
it's
I love the price isn't too steep, but too steep, my dear sir. The way I look at it, I'm making a killing. It's fucking great. Like so much great dialogue in there. Um, I also just genuinely love
I
this guy that he's fucking with at the beginning. I think he's just a really fun character.
yeah, like this, and the poor guy. Then you have the first flashback, which um, again, we I think in this non-spoiler section we covered that first flashback fairly well. Um,
Mhm.
I will say I love the way the flashbacks transition from one to another. It's
Oh yeah,
again, it's
yeah.
very
Those flashes.
fluid. Um,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the Joker is in the the Joker's in the basically the same position, and they're very paralleled. Um,
Mhm.
which immediately gives the game away, even if you're
Oh yeah,
going in
yeah. I
blind.
mean,
That
Moore isn't trying to hide that this is the Joker. You know.
yeah. Um, and uh, then he kills a guy. He kills the guy
Yep.
on
I
this
love that drawing
pink
of him on
elephant.
the I love the drawing of him on the pink elephant with where he's all like Joker eyes and everything. It's cool. It's just a really cool moment.
Yeah,
Love the Joker's whole speech there about like what he's gonna do for it and how he has like all these like attractions to secure and all that. Really just fun moment. Then we get another dialogueless page with Batman in the Batcave, and he's looking over like sort of his history with the Joker, and again, really setting up this history between the two characters.
and very much the idea that he doesn't know who the Joker is.
Yeah, because they have it a couple times. Because even on his Arkham cell, like where they have like Harvey Dent's name, it says Dent H, and we go to Joker cell and it says name unknown there. Like they established that a couple of times throughout, that he has no clue who the Joker is. And Batman has this great line to Alfred in Alfred's only appearance in this book. Batman says, how can two people hate each other so much without knowing each other? And I think
Alfred is basically silent. He gets one line of dialogue, but he's basically silent because it's like, well, how do you reflect on that?
Yeah,
and then we get this scene.
The scene.
The scene. The scene.
Man. I mean, okay, you take it. You this is your first time reading it. I'm sure you knew the scene going in.
I knew the scene going in. I did. I know that this is the scene where Barbara Gordon, aka the most popular Batgirl, though apparently not the first. Apparently not the first.
In a weird golden age, some writers didn't know what the fuck they were doing kind of way. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the most popular Batgirl, the Batgirl that if you say Batgirl, she's probably the one that the general public is gonna know. She's having dinner with her father, and it's that first page. It's just like it's every signpost saying, oh, this is gonna go wrong. This is gonna go bad.
Yeah. This is just a really sweet scene between the two of them. I really
so
like
nice.
it. Gordon's making this like scrapbook of his adventures with Batman and Joker escaping and all that. And Barbara says like, oh yeah, I found the Catwoman one. It was back here. You should let me like file it for you. It's just like like cute little like father-daughter talk. It's it's nothing more than that. And then there's a knock at the door, and Barbara says,
the dialogue is, well, I remember you're describing the white face and the green hair to me when I was a kid. When I was a kid, scared the hell out of me. I thought you'd be interested. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I had some interesting nightmares. She opened the door, and oh look, green hair, white skin, a Hawaiian shirt. Which
I fucking love it. I love this Joker look so much.
I love, and
also
I love the composition.
Oh yeah.
And then Barbara Gordon gets shot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my one minor niggle, especially in this comic, this is literally the one purpose Barbara Gordon serves, and I think it kind of does her dirty. It does.
I agree. It is one of those things where, like, yeah, if this were its own thing and it hadn't later been incorporated into the larger DC universe,
yes.
then, yeah, I think it would be an issue. But the fact that this does have lasting implications for the character in the end does make it better, I feel.
Now. Yeah, I know she becomes Oracle, but in The Killing Joke, as written, Barbara Gordon gets fritzed. She's not dead, but she is extreme trauma and a crippling disability forced on her, essentially for the advancement of the two male characters, Jim Gordon, and then obviously Bruce Wayne and Batman. It is.
I mean, we'll talk about the scene later, but I will argue I actually do quite like the purpose she serves in the other main scene that she's in. But while we're here,
yeah, she has a real. I like that emotional scene, but yeah, here she is just.
Okay.
She is there
that being
to get.
Said, here is some of my favorite Joker dialogue of all time. I fucking love.
I love. It is the best dark humor. It is the best dark humor.
Oh, I fucking adore it. The whole bit about like
it's a psychological complaint common amongst ex-librarians. You see, she thinks she's a coffee table ignition. Mind you, I can't say much for the volume's condition. I mean, there's a hole in the jacket, and the spine appears to be damaged.
It's so fucking good. I love it. And then, like he's like, oh, there's a problem with softbacks and things like that. It's so fucking great.
It
It's
is.
so
It is.
dark and legitimately
When I
funny.
read it, I was nearly laughing my ass off. I'm like, this. I should not be laughing at this. This is horrible.
It's great. It is just great dialogue while Gordon's just getting fucked up in the background, and Joker pours himself a drink and holds up his camera and unbuttons Barbara's shirt.
Here's to crime.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Phew, yeah,
I
and
got I
again,
gotta say,
that's
I gotta say, we had a really funny reply to our tweet promoting the podcast yesterday. The guy that said your faves are problematic probably originates from this book.
and it's like it
Which
does.
probably.
It does.
Yeah,
God
yeah,
damn, if the Joker isn't great, and again, you have the same thing that Bolin does, transitioning from here's to crime into the flashback. It's the same
yep,
position.
yep. Holding up the glass and everything. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Um, I also
And
love the
again,
end. It's not as obvious a transition as coming out of the last one, but I love the pulling off the shrimp's legs going into the hospital room with Barbara.
yes, and it's such a good transition too, because using the crawfish,
Oh,
which
sorry,
are
my apologies.
yeah, I'm only making the distinction because crawfish are bottom feeders, and it's a very it's a very interesting choice of animal. Just the way that they're drawn, like shrimp would look nowhere near as interesting, because they're sort of in shells. You have the eyes, and again, I love the red popping of the color.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it's the red is the one thing you see, and you go right into the right into the hospital scene,
hmm And we catch up with Barbara
where
again. And this is one of the few things that Bullock does in the book. First off, Harvey Bullock's in this book. I don't know. I always just find that kind of funny. It's like, oh yeah, he's there. But
yeah,
uh,
I was gonna say, is that supposed to be Bullock?
yeah, that's Bullock. Yep, definitely. Um, yeah, just kind of funny. But he's there and serves, weirdly enough, one of my favorite purposes in the book, which is it's not quite the event itself that shakes Batman, but what he learns about the event from Bullock. So,
It's the way that Bullock is drawn, because I mean, I know Bullock from what I've seen of the animated series, really, and he's kind
oh
of
yeah,
that skeevy.
have you watched any more from Mask of the Phantasm, or did you stop there?
I've watched through Robin's Reckoning.
Oh, we gotta talk about that later. Ooh, okay. Anyway,
We do.
ooh, okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but the way Bullock here is he's not excited or happy or getting off on seeing Barbara Gordon naked. He's
oh,
disturbed.
yeah, and like it's not even like a way to like stick it to Batman or anything. No, it's a genuine moment between the two of them. Um, so there was a camera lens there that didn't fit any of the lens cap there that didn't fit any of the cameras there. She was in a state of undress, as he says, and Batman didn't know any of this. And the way like, when Bullock leaves him, he says, "Oh yeah, it's pretty sick, ain't it?" And Batman just crushes the Joker playing card that he has with him and says, "Yes, pretty sick," and he wants to be left alone. And we get this really nice moment then between Batman and Barbara where he like whispers to her, he's like, "Hey, it's me, it's Bruce." He doesn't say it's Batman. He says it's Bruce, and they have a
And she
really
never
nice
refers
moment.
to him as Batman. She refers to him as Bruce.
Yeah.
And the sheer terror in her eyes. Um,
Oh yeah. It's fucking heartbreaking. Oh man. Yikes.
yeah, it
Ending
was
ending wonderfully on the line. What's he doing to my father? As we move into what
to
Joker's
another
doing
good
to her father.
transition. So this bit fucked with me.
So you didn't know this. This is the aspect of the book where like it really started to like throw you for a loop, right?
I thought the Joker was trying to fuck with Batman.
Oh no. No.
Huh. Huh.
No.
So here we go. Here we
Okay.
go.
How did this scene first strike you, Jacob?
I was just like, okay, we've gone into weird territory.
Yep. Yep. This
It's like,
is
okay, I'm like, yeah, the carnival freaks aren't what did it. They aren't. Like, I was like, that's fair. It was the mountain of babies. It
yeah,
was the mountain of
yeah,
babies.
that's fair. That's fair. The fucking dog collar around Gordon, stripping him. Yeah, it's just,
I was like,
whew, man.
yeah,
If you,
you're
if,
humiliating
if you were
him.
if you were in doubt before that this was written by Alan Moore, forget about that. Yeah. It's
Like,
yeah, whew, man. Um,
I will
I like.
say,
There's not even like much.
Boland actually tries to be tasteful with the nudity.
Yeah, yeah. We do get we do get a shot of Gordon's bare ass, but other than that, I think that's about the most
It's
explicit
very
it
much a
gets.
use of shadow of Gordon holding on
Yeah, yeah.
to his to what is his sanity. And what's interesting is that at this point you get you're basically like, somebody please tell me what I'm doing here. You're doing what any sane man in your appalling circumstances would do. You're going mad.
And this is the first scene, first of many in this book, that where we really get like Joker philosophizing, as he does so well throughout this book. One of my favorite lines in this scene is "Madness is the emergency exit," where he really starts like pointing out what he's trying to do to Gordon, and it's where we really start to see what the purpose of the flashbacks are, why we're seeing Joker's origin, to see why Joker sees himself and what he's doing in this plot. So I think it's really interesting. Then we get our third flashback. Joker's wife dies, and he's told he's still going to be forced to pretend to be Red Hood and go pull off this job. And then we transition out of that, and Joker gets a song. So, continuing on from that, how did this scene strike you, Jacob?
So yeah, again, at this point, I'm just like, right, I'm going with it. This is utter throwing insanity at Commissioner Gordon
Oh yeah,
and expecting him to fall to the insanity. Because part of the whole point of this is that the Joker's philosophy is just flawed.
yeah,
The Joker's just he's flawed. He's completely flawed. Um, like it's telling that whenever we transition out of a flashback and into the present and it's not on the Joker, that
Mhm.
Boland Boland while matching the transition, either he likes to pull back more, um, and it's less
Yeah,
intense. And so that's an interesting representation that there's a parallel here, but the parallel is different. Whereas if it's the Joker, it is generally same position, same sizing, same everything.
Mhm.
Um,
I will say, up until I saw the animated movie, whenever I read this book, I always had a really hard time imagining how the song would sound.
yeah,
Um,
it
I
doesn't. It,
yeah, it like it rhymes, and there like it technically works, but I don't know. I could never quite imagine
it's
how it
I'd
would sound.
I'd imagine it like something on like a pipe organ that you'd hear at a carnival. Um,
Yeah, I mean that being said, I mean we'll talk about the animated movie later, but like I really do actually like the
yeah,
way they did it in the movie, and it actually really worked. But I think it's yeah, great scene. This is when we get the moment where he really tries to get Gordon to go mad, and if anything was gonna do it, it was gonna be this. Uh, whew, what did you make of this?
mm, that only cemented my opinion that Barbara Gordon gets fridged. Because oh boy, it is intense. If you've made it this far and you still haven't read this book, yeah, this is one not for the faint of heart. This is adult. This is not.
Yeah, yeah,
This is not something you'd give a child.
yeah. No, no. This is the only. I mean, it's not really explicit, but like this is the only part of the book that like really gets like explicit nudity in there, and it's, I don't know,
And it's not, even though it's not that explicit, it's working almost on the horror movie principle of what you don't see makes it even worse.
yeah, because it's only 2 panels that you see of what Gordon is or what Joker is showing Gordon. Like you could only imagine what else is in there. It's fuck. It's horrible. It's fucking horrible. I think the most fucked up shot here, looking at the pictures, is the one up in the top right there, where you see the blood on her leg, like
Yeah.
upper thigh. Yeah, I think that's like we're like the worst shots that you'd be able to see there would be like where the bullet actually entered her and she's just fucking naked.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And then this is also followed by like my favorite panel in the whole comic, which is the final line of the song and the way Bolin draws Joker there. I adore that. I adore the look of
With the
Joker there.
extended neck, it's the
Oh
one point where
yeah.
the Joker just does not look like a human being.
Yeah, no, it's just horrible. Fucking horrible. We get 2 of those dialogueless pages where Batman is trying to find out.
It's very important. It's also very much intercut with sort of the funhouse ride throughout
Yeah,
both of them.
for each of the
Um,
sequences, we see another panel of Gordon entering another door of the funhouse, quote unquote fun house. It's yeah, it's
I'm
something.
curious, is that Bullock at the end when giving
Yeah,
Batman the invitation?
yeah, it is. Yep.
So again, Harvey Bullock being shown in a good light as a human
Yeah,
being.
yeah. Just, whew, man. Yikes.
Yeah, and Bruce is just
Phew.
immediately, I'm going, um, and I think now we get to, I think, the interesting part is Commissioner Gordon's reaction to the Joker at the end here. That you have.
He doesn't say
Well,
anything
hello,
for.
Commissioner. How's things? Commissioner? Hello?
Oh yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
home?
There's another one of my favorite panels there when he's like staring down at him when he first gets off the ride. I also love
And Jim Gordon, one of the best people in the world, does not rise to the bait.
yeah. He's and like Joker even says like God, he's boring. The man's a complete turnip. Like it's not amusing to the Joker, but in a way Joker still thinks he's succeeding just in what he's done because he thinks that anyone under these circumstances should crack. Anyone going through what Gordon
And
is going.
the entire point is that Gordon doesn't come close to cracking. He gets upset. He feels grief, like any human being would,
Mm-hmm,
and I'm sure he feels anger, but he
mm-hmm.
doesn't lose his sanity.
Yeah.
And we have another rain shot at the end here, where where you have the Joker saying to reflect upon life and all its random injustice, and that's you see the Joker in the rain, and
Mm-hmm.
we transition to the flashback. Now, I think we should actually talk about this last flashback a bit more
All
in
right,
depth.
go ahead.
So this is basically just become the standard the standard Joker origin, if you get a Joker origin, that
Mhm.
he's
Yeah, from this point in particular, like yeah, it's not. Yeah, like this is the Joker origin. I mean, even then, there was some way older Batman comics. I think from the 50s. I want to say I've read the issue where they did it, and it was like a who is the Red Hood, and it turns out to be the Joker in the end. And that was the first time they'd ever like really explored where the Joker had come from. But this is the first time that we ever really give it depth. But it's still the same scene in the end. Like the Red Hood is at this chemical plant. He's being hunted down by cops. Batman intervenes, and eventually, Red Hood falls into a vat of acid. Comes out, ha ha ha. And
and
but
there's a couple of things that are important. One, it's that Batman thinks the Red Hood is a person he's met before, and the whole point is that it's not.
yeah, it's that same idea that
And that
the two mobsters brought around before, where they're like, oh yeah, it's just a bunch of guys in a mask. It's a title that's passed on to like whoever happens to be in the gang at the time. He helps us pull off jobs. There isn't actually a single Red Hood.
And what's more telling isn't that Batman was responsible for the creation of the Joker, because he's not.
Mhm.
The guy jumps into the acid.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
But also we get that one panel towards the end where we see Red Hood's eyesight, and like we see like how he views Batman, and it makes him seem like a menacing figure. Batman is after him. He sees the only option there is to jump. That's what he thinks, at least. But he doesn't hear Batman's dialogue. Batman's dialogue when he first enters is, "I'll take care of it my way." He doesn't plan on harming, well, probably harming him, but he doesn't
yeah,
plan on killing him.
because the cops just come in shooting.
Yeah, yeah.
They they
But
come
also,
in just
it's telling to say, like, one of the cops says, "Oh, it's that human bat guy in all the papers lately." It's very early on in Batman's career, and they maybe don't know what Batman does to criminals. They don't know how he treats them. Does he kill them? What does he actually do? So Red Hood certainly doesn't know, let alone the fact he's scared out of his mind and sees Batman as this giant bat, this scary figure just coming towards him in a mask that he could barely see in to begin with. It's so much is done on this one page where Batman enters and Red Hood falls into the acid. It's really, really fascinating what Bolin does with it.
and it's also done with minimal dialogue. Again, this Morris a master of knowing I have this much space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
make it count.
yeah. And
Uh,
and honestly, you would think, like, oh yeah, they're saving it for like a later page where it was going to be dialogue filled. No, the page after that is just him freaking out as he becomes the Joker, and he finally gives into the madness of what's happened to him.
yeah,
Um,
he sees himself, and he's the Joker. He pulls off the hood. He just starts laughing maniacally.
mhm.
Um, and I again, I with it's the iconic image of him gripping his head and just laughter in the background. I don't entirely like that the laughter is all white. I
Oh,
think
come
at this point you should
It's
have gone to
cool.
color.
It's
It's
cool.
cool. It's cool. And then you transition to the carnies laughing at Jim Gordon.
Yeah, which also,
And
this is
what's
the average man speech is one of my favorite speeches of the Joker. It's one that's very easily overlooked. In fact, when I rewatched the movie for this episode, they cut that whole speech, the average man speech. Um, it fucking hurts because I love this page where the whole, like, how does he survive in these harsh and irrational world. The sad answer is not very well. It's just a great fucking speech. Really, really establishing, like, how the Joker views Gordon and anyone that he thinks should crack under the pressure that he's trying to replicate, that he went through. So then,
and 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 that's where Batman. That's where Batman shows up, and it's telling. Again, Gordon's still not saying anything. Gordon is
yeah,
not
They're,
giving
they're, oh,
in.
I think also at that point they're playing with the idea that, hey, maybe Gordon is actually letting it get to him. We don't know how he's going to come out of this cage. Um, but when Batman
Yeah,
arrives,
but like,
much like at the beginning where we get that echo, backwards echo of what the Joker's going to say, we get an echo of what Batman said at the beginning. That speech that he had planned to give to Joker about wanting to avert the outcome of one of them killing the other.
yeah, and it's this great, it's this great action scene. Really flowed really nicely, and the Joker just kind of runs off.
Mhm. And he goes into this
And
fun
then
house.
you have Batman proving once again how human he is by giving Jim Gordon, getting him out of the cage, and giving him a hug.
Mm-hmm. And that's when we really finally established that Gordon has proven Joker's point wrong, as has been proven wrong the entire book. That he does not buy into the Joker's idea of one bad day. That's not it. That's not what happens. Joker wasn't a good person to begin with, not entirely, at least. And it takes more than just one bad day to make someone as insane as the Joker. But Gordon says,
it's clear if that I don't think that if they don't say it, but I think in between the characters it's that because Batman is here and because Batman's taking care of Gordon first and not the Joker, Gordon understands Barbara's clearly not dead.
mm-hmm. And
it's even furthered by Batman saying, the police are following right behind me. I'll stay here with you until they arrive.
Mm-hmm. And Gordon says, "No, you have to go after him. I want him brought in. I want him brought in by the book." And Batman doesn't really like give him a yes or no. He says, "I'll do my best." He can't guarantee to Gordon that after all he's done, that he won't crack under the pressure. And I like playing with that idea. We'll talk about the ending in depth in a second, but this is the first proper foreshadowing of that. So, so Batman enters.
This is the speech.
The fucking speech. Which honestly, I could put my book down right now, and I think I still have it memorized. I won't, but I probably could. This is the speech.
People who don't understand the speech misinterpret how it begins.
Mm-hmm.
It begins, Gordon's been driven mad. I've proved my point. I've demonstrated there's no difference between me and everyone else. All it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy.
So that is how the speech begins. Joker doesn't really realize that he hasn't actually won.
Taken out of context, it sounds like he's gloating, but part of the point is that no, he is wrong on every level. He is wrong. Even if you interpret the ending, I'd argue he's still wrong because if Batman kills him, Batman is not insane.
Yeah. I could go on and on about the speech and like all the different things that it means and how it's Joker's magnum opus, but he's totally fucking wrong. I love the way it ends, and I love these insane last couple jokes that he makes about like how many times we've been close to World War III over a flock of geese on a computer screen. It's this fascinating,
and that's actually really important because I think people now look at this as sort of the all-time classic Batman thing. I think it's important to note this was published in 1988. This is right near the end of the Cold War. The Berlin Wall wouldn't have fallen yet. So this sort of tense, the world could end on because of a flock of geese on the computer screen, is very prescient. This is in the UK. Yeah. This was the era of protect and survive.
Yeah, and it's using that analogy in particular really solidifies this continual cracking under the pressure and just giving in and going mad and seeing that there's no way out, which is interesting, I think, because we mentioned Alan Moore's personal worldview earlier on. I'm not saying Alan Moore's insane, but I'm well, he very well might be, but I'm not saying he's the Joker. I'm saying like I'm not even saying he agrees with this, but you could almost see Alan Moore speaking personally here in this speech.
Personally, with all of the fire and anger of someone who is genuinely scared the world might end.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fear. It's a fear that madmen like to play on. Madmen like the Joker.
So the speech ends on this amazing line. It says, "It's all a joke. Everything anybody ever valued or struggled for, it's all a monstrous, demented gag. So why can't you see the funny side? Why aren't you laughing?" And it's accompanied by this really sad drawing of the Joker. It's a moment that, like, the Joker has laid his entire ideology out for Batman. He's worn his heart on his sleeve, and at the end of the day, he just wants Batman to agree with him, and Batman still doesn't. Batman comes crashing in, beats the living piss out of him.
Well,
You know,
he retorts with, because I've heard it before and it wasn't funny the first time. This is very much a retort, because I in the modern day, a lot of the Joker's rhetoric here is very similar to certain politicians who like to fearmonger about
indeed.
others forcing your world to come down. Because it's brilliant, and the entire point is, again, it wasn't funny the first time. This is something that keeps happening, and I think for the first time you have the Joker screaming that he is scared.
Yeah. I think because then Batman points out that all that the whole reason Joker made that speech is because he thinks he's won. Batman points out to him that Gordon hasn't gone mad. Joker hasn't proven his point. He's as sane as he ever was. And
the Joker can't. He doesn't respond with basically. He doesn't respond with some eloquent speech. It's no, and then a bunch of pain noises.
Yeah, he tries to pull Batman's mask to blind him. He hits him with a stick. He tries to stab him. He gets thrown out. He gets punched out of a window, and then he pulls a gun on him. That in the end has this little sign that hangs off of it that says "click, click, click," and then we get the final dialogue of the piece, which is Batman once again trying to. Well, Joker first off says that after all I've done, just do what you normally do, beat the living hell out of me, get a standing ovation from the public gallery. And Batman basically responds to that by saying, like, okay, I'm doing this by the book, and he gives basically the same speech.
Because I don't want to.
Yeah, and he gives that same speech again from earlier about like how he just wants to avert the outcome of them killing each other, but they can still talk it out. And Joker responds with a very simple no. It's too late for that. And then
we get the joke.
The killing joke.
We get the killing joke,
which is just a great joke. First off, I think it's a genuinely funny joke. It's a genuinely funny joke. And again,
these two guys in a lunatic asylum, and one night they decide they don't like living in the asylum anymore. They decide they're going to escape.
So
there's our setup, and then we get the build, and then the punchline. Turn it off when I was halfway across.
And Joker begins to laugh, tries to stop himself, but it's just genuinely funny. At which point, Batman laughs and begins to join him, and they laugh together in the rain as the rain continues to come down, these lights shining behind them. Batman grabs Joker. They continue to laugh together. We pan down into the rain. And
interestingly, we don't entirely know what... Now, it's interesting because we don't know what all the lights are. You see 4 lights from light bulbs, but then you see 2 larger lights further down that I would posit are the police.
That's very possible. Okay. Yeah, that's very possible.
They look like headlights.
Shall we get into the age-old debate?
Yeah, we shall. First, I'd like to go a little bit into... Okay, yeah, you set up the debate. I'll go into my interesting things.
So the big debate, again, the scene as it is framed is they're laughing together. Batman grabs the Joker. We pan down. The lights suddenly disappear, and we don't see their feet anymore. So the age-old debate, and the laughing stops. And that there's only one line of laughter at the bottom there, which is presumably only one of them. So the age-old debate, of course, is did Batman kill the Joker? Is it the killing
Okay.
joke?
Oh no, it
Because
is. It is. It
that,
is. It is the cop car. It is the cop car. Because if you look at what the letters are, it's "we." It's not laughter. The laughters are all ha's coming from both of them.
ooh, that's true. That's true.
The laughter stops 4 panels from the end.
That is true.
Um, yes.
So,
That's
so
that's important
so
to set up.
so I know your answer to this already because you told me it already in a message. But do you think Batman killed the Joker?
I do not.
And I think we've already. I agree actually. You know, even putting aside the fact that like Joker does have to be alive for the rest of the DC universe to be intact, but even putting that aside, I think we've already kind of laid out why he didn't we? Because the whole book is about proving the Joker wrong, isn't it?
Well, it's also telling. So we need to sort of put the piece de resistance is what the last joke is, because the last joke's a retelling of a fable. Um, it is the Aesop fable of the scorpion and the frog, which is essentially a frog comes to a river where there is a scorpion. The scorpion asks, "Okay, Mr. Frog, could you let me cross? Could you help me cross this river if I climb on your back?" The frog says, "Why would I do that? You're a scorpion. It's in your nature to kill me." "Ah, but if I kill you, we both drown." So the frog agrees. Halfway across the river, ding, the frog dies and is, with his last breaths, asks, "Why did you do this?" The scorpion replies, "Because it's in my nature." That's what the joke is.
Go on. You're on a roll. Go ahead.
The entire joke. There were 2 guys in a lunatic asylum. The first, I would posit
very clearly, one is Batman, one is Joker. If we're going to
one
compare
is
it
the
to that old
Joker.
fable, I would say the frog is Batman.
The frog is Batman. Batman is the guy who asks for the light. The Joker is clearly the impulsive one who jumps over. It's also telling. Remember, Batman doesn't immediately go after Joker. He offers to stay with Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
He off
Because
he
go
takes his
ahead.
time. He looks for the beam across.
Mm-hmm.
It
And
may not necessarily be by
I
the
think
book, as Gordon says.
I think also one could argue that Batman is ready to let Joker go because he wants to stay with Gordon. That he's ready to let
Yeah,
the game keep going because there's that small part of Batman that that doesn't want to answer the question of how will it end between the two of them.
yeah, most definitely. It is a beautiful ending. Um, a very it's very important, um, listeners, never to discount a comic book as possibly just a silly comic book. Um,
No, God no.
I've already demonstrated in this book and in our first episode, there are deep literary cuts that
Yeah.
are playing around with ideas,
Yep.
um, and I'm sure we'll talk about that with the other small short story that we're talking about today. That's included in in the current edition of Killing Joke.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I I think we both agree that the ending is intentionally left ambiguous,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
could make the
I think
argument.
it's I really do think it's weird the people that say like, oh, it was always meant to be that the Batman kills the Joker at the end.
Well, and
That was always
they like to
intended.
use the line that you nearly used, that there was only one line of laughter. There was only one line of laughter from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
It's not 2 distinct lines. Those two, yeah, those 2 lights are headlights. The "we" is a
It's them
car.
laughing together. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
them laughing together. Huh.
Yeah.
One of those books that just makes you think, "Oh my God, this episode is an hour and 11 minutes so far.
Yeah.
Good God,
This is gonna
this
be.
this
You said this is
this
gonna be shorter, but
this thing is less than what Long Halloween was over 7-8 times the length of The Killing Joke, and here we fucking are, man. Wow, it really is just a book that you could talk about forever, isn't it?
you can. Um, Again, it's a brilliant story that even if you're not a comics fan, even if you made it this far and you didn't heed our spoiler warning, I'd still give it a read, because this is a thing. This is a thing where, even though Joey and I came to the same conclusion, there are things we interpreted differently.
Mm-hmm. I think
There,
also,
uh,
uh, I think also because it is such an ambiguous story. It's an important one to seek out to sort of make your own opinions on. You know, it's one that you really should take in for yourself, and really show that there's no objective quality in art, and no one can really come to the same conclusions about art. But I digress. So do you want to
I
briefly
know
talk about
exactly
the?
where that anger comes from, Joey, and
you're
I
you're
share it so
you are
much.
you are absolutely correct. So, let's briefly talk about the two small stories at the back of the deluxe edition. First is from Countdown number 31, counting down to Final Crisis, which I fucking bought a digital copy of because I don't have the new deluxe edition. So I was like, okay, let's see what it is. It's fucking 2 pages, and it's just basically retelling the flashbacks of Killing Joe.
Oh,
I just
yeah, yeah.
yeah yeah
Sorry, I didn't even think that was a story. I just thought that was something included.
yeah
Mind
no
you,
yeah
uh, you before this, Joey had told me there was a second two-page story, and I never questioned him on it. This, it's nice to include. It is. It's
Yeah,
the
it's
art
nice
is
to,
by Brian
it is.
Boland.
Yeah, I was gonna say if for nothing else, it's there for the Brian Boland artwork, and it's
It's
gorgeous.
very
So
pretty, and it's also a good supplement to Killing Joke. That, yeah, there is a multiple choice answer here.
mhm.
Um,
So
but
what we're really here to talk about is the Brian Boland written and drawn and Innocent Man, originally published in Batman Black and White #4, which Boland added color to for the Killing Joke Deluxe Edition. What did you make of this? Because we didn't talk about this at all before we started recording.
I think it's a great little supplement, sort of on Madness,
Mm,
because it's a story where it, it's one dude's fantasy of killing Batman.
hmm I think it's a great idea. The idea presented here of you don't really know you're doing everything right in life. You don't know that you're really a good person unless you've tried being a bad person. And he wants to try to do this one bad thing just to make sure that he's been doing it all right. I think it's a really fascinating idea, and it just happens to be in the Batman world. I don't think it needs to be. It needs to have any Batman characters in it to just be an interesting idea.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it's a great supplement to Killing Joke, because again, it's an espousal on a philosophy that I'd argue is in a way wrong. I think the title here is ironic. It's that,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, this is not an innocent guy. This is a guy with some very fucked up thoughts.
yeah. The first scenario he lays out is leaving a girl like trapped down in a basement for days on end until she starves to death. And he's like, oh no, but that's not good enough. You know, it needs to be something big so that I know that I'm doing the right thing. Um, he wants
So then
to,
he suggests the Pope,
yeah,
which is interesting.
yeah.
Interesting,
I
because
like I like him.
depending on your view of religion,
I like this guy
um,
sort of like laying out different situations that like Batman would find himself in. Like I love fighting Penguin on like a giant typewriter, things like that. Um, and and then he would eventually kill Batman, and he would leave without a trace. And I like the last line here. He's, I'll finish my college education, marry my girlfriend, and have a couple of kids. A boy and a girl would be nice. Live a good and blameless life, and go to heaven when I die. I think it's just really
like bits of Killing Joke, playing off certain political beliefs and certain political rhetoric.
yeah.
Very much playing on the 2.5 kids, white picket fence, and a dog named Spot.
Yeah. It's fascinating, but also
Now, I can't tell if this guy is supposed to look like Brian Boland.
No.
No.
Yeah. Did you ever look at the back of the book where they have the reference photo he took for the
I
joke?
did.
Yeah, that's
like,
Brian Boland.
That was the 80s, so this is like, I don't know, maybe 20 years. He also looks a little bit like Stephen King, kind of.
Well, Innocent Guy wasn't written. Well, Innocent Guy wasn't written for the deluxe edition. It was written in God. What year was it written in? Black and White #4. Year it was published was. Oh, come on.
Was it like
Was
2000? So
2013.
So that's it's possible that he aged in that time, but yeah, he looks kind of like Stephen King.
Oh wait, no, sorry, I lie. It was written in 96.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I was looking at the deluxe edition reprinting of it. So yeah, written in 96 then. So yeah, not too long after. So no, he's not meant to look like Brian Boland. So actually, speaking of Brian Boland, we never talked about his amazing. We never talked about his amazing afterword to the story. I really love it. How he opens it saying, he's like, I've been asked to write an afterword for this. He's like, I was told that I have a limit on it, so if I ever like stop mid sentence, that'll be why. And he ends on saying this. He's like, speaking of which, it's how I revealed what really happens at the end of the Killing Joke. As our protagonist stood there in the rain laughing at the final joke, the police lights reflecting in the pools of filthy water underfoot, the Batman's hand reached out and ... I think it's fucking great.
It's this great thing.
I think Boland just has a really good sense of humor. you get a lot of his personality.
I think giving a definitive answer would kind of ruin it. Like
yeah.
Like I hate to say, there are some stories where the resolution is not meant to tie things up in a nice bow.
Yeah.
Of course, an objective viewpoint would say that that's wrong, but just look at this.
Fucking hell. I think Brian Boland has a really great personality. I think you see that a lot in this release of Killing Joke, between his afterword, between An Innocent Guy, and his couple like footnotes at the back of the book. He has a lot to say about the story, and he's really passionate about his work. And of course, you're not going to really get anything out of Alan Moore to say about the Killing Joke. So the thing is just loaded.
More by this point, by the time this was published, even by the afterward was 2008. Yeah. 2000. I think the forward was also like 2008.
Yeah. So no, it's
post Moore being like, screw the world, they keep screwing up my work.
Yeah. Which honestly, who can blame them? So there's that. Let's talk briefly about the animated movie Killing Joke. I hear you have a hot.
So the animated movie is very faithful. It is like, when it starts adapting the Killing Joke, it is the Killing Joke. But
yeah,
the only thing missing, I didn't even notice it was missing, the average man speech, which might have just been for time, for slight pacing issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, they sort of throw together the whole sequence where like Batman first arrives and we come out of the final flashback. We sort of like cut straight to Batman finding Joker, and we get like, I think like one or two lines that are from the average man's speech, but they cut like almost the entire speech.
They get the point. I think they still get the point across though.
They do not. No, it's a fucking disservice. No, I'm joking. It's good.
Let's be honest. Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are brilliant
Mhm.
in giving it their. I know you don't entirely like Hamill's interpretation of what the
See,
one bad day speech.
yeah, I don't like the way he delivers it. He gets all angry at the end, and I really don't think that's quite the way to go with it because he doesn't snap until after Batman proves him wrong.
I'd argue it's
I
just you're just looking at a different interpretation because
I,
you can find Conroy.
I think for me, because I had known the comic for so many years before the movie came out, I had like a very specific way that I was like, that this is the way the line should be said. It should like rise and fall in these places, and here's where it should stop, and here's you should have like a big laugh, and I don't know. I think I had like a very specific vision for it, and it wasn't quite there for me. But I think the thing we're really here to talk about is the prologue.
Prologue. I don't hate the prologue.
You know
I
what?
don't.
I agree.
It is. It is. Let's talk a little bit about the context of the setting that they show you, but they don't tell you outright. Before this, I looked this now. Being just a general sort of knower through cultural osmosis, I know that Jason Todd, the second Robin, is killed by the Joker
Hmm.
in A Death in the Family. And I checked the dates. This came out before the Killing Joke came out before A Death in the Family, same year, but
Oh, wait,
quite a
wait.
bit.
Nope.
They were both. I'm fairly certain they
Wait.
came out before.
Mm, I think you're wrong.
They're the same year, but I'm fairly certain.
Oh, wait, yeah. Oh, wait, sorry. Hang on. You're right. Fuck me. Never mind. Yeah, same
Yeah,
year, though. Yeah.
same year. And again, Joey informed me that, of course, the death of Jason Todd was done by telephone pole. So
Yeah.
Moore could not have known that Jason Todd was going to die.
Yeah.
But
These
in
just, these, just,
retrospect,
these, they just happen to have published two of the most horrible things the Joker's ever done side by side.
side by side, in the same year, um, but there's one shot from in the actual Killing Joke section that they alter, and it's an image on Batman's computer. It's an image from A Death in the Family.
Yes. Yeah. I forgot that they threw that
Prologue
in.
takes place after Death in the Family.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of need. So people seem to complain about Barbara Gordon pining after Batman. And I think part of the point of that is that she's not entirely certain of what her role is.
I
Also,
see.
probably spurred on by the death of Jason Todd.
Yeah, I mean, also I think it is important to say that like I've always personally interpreted Killing Joke as being between Jason Todd and Tim Drake as far as like Bat Family timeline placement. Um, but I
But
think
that's obviously not explicit, and Moore wouldn't have known that writing it.
yeah, definitely. So for me, I really don't like the Bruce Barber relationship. Other than that, to be honest, I think the rest of the prologue's fine. I really don't take issue with it.
See,
I think there are some fun moments in.
I think the sex may have been a different thing, but that rocky relationship of two people sort of trying to find essentially roles in what's a shaken up world um,
Mhm.
uh, is really telling, and really telling when you see um, when you see this is after Jason's death. This is
Mhm.
like this is a Batman who is clearly wants to push away Barbara because she's going to get hurt. Uh,
Mhm.
I already have one death on my hands. I don't need another. And
Mhm.
I
And I
don't
feel,
know,
but
right?
I do feel like he could have gotten that point across without the whole relationship. I really just for me it doesn't fit. Like I don't know, especially the scene that it's done within, where they do just fuck on a rooftop, and I don't know. It's just
The relationship is very
it's
weird, and
it's very
preppy.
clunky. I think.
It's clunky. It's weird, and I think they were trying to go for just an outburst of emotions, and like that doesn't entirely come across
Yeah.
as well as it could have. But it's
That being said, the reason the prologue is there is because Barbara just doesn't really play a role in the comic. She's there to get shot.
She is there to get shot. She she was included in Gail Simone's original list of women in refrigerators.
Mm-hmm.
When that website originally was up, I haven't found the archive, but she was one of the names that importantly gave the type of thing. Now, of course, they do stuff with Barbara later on in Batman Canon, and that helps smooth that over. But even if you're going to adapt the Killing Joke, you need to do something with Barbara. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't just have her get shot. You need, and I think
definitely.
the prologue helps that. Also, the after credits scene.
I was just about to bring that up. Like, the best thing they added to the movie was that after credits scene. I fucking love that thing.
Also, Tara Strong is just a great actress.
Oh yeah. I mean, no one is disputing that.
She is so good, and she is just so good in that role.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say the animation of the Killing Joke film does a really good job of being of taking Boland's style and making it work for a film.
Yeah. Actually, it's a great bit that I think they added for the film, but I think actually elevates the actual story a lot. That little scene where they throw between the one flashback and the hospital scene, where Joker's first lighting up the carnival, and he looks around, and he's like eyes are sort of glistening, and he looks in awe at the carnival. They added that little bit for the movie, and I think I really liked that bit. That part really struck me as like one of the original parts of the actual story they threw in. That and the little sequence towards the beginning where Batman and Bullock find the storage unit of dead people.
Because you need something to spur Bruce going to Arkham.
Yeah.
We don't. Part of the ambiguity. It's a matter of adapting it to film. You're either just going to adapt The Killing Joke, which
would only be about an hour, not even an hour long film.
30 minutes to 45. It's not a lot of time.
Yeah, which isn't an issue, but every DC animated film up to this point has been like an hour 15 to like an hour.
Yeah, it's a matter of having to sell it. You don't want to sell someone just here is basically 45 minutes of feature content. There's a reason, like if you're selling a TV show on a single disc, there will at least be 2 episodes, if not more. And again, Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy are utterly brilliant, and I think now that we're far enough, the film was originally released in 2016.
Yeah,
we are far enough away where I think if you've seen the film and were like fanboy raged, go watch it again.
Yeah, just give it another shot. I guarantee it's not as bad as you remember it being.
It's not. It's the out. This be simplifying the outrage, and obviously I don't know because I'm not that big of a comics fan, honestly. Like
you will be.
I will be, but it is. It's the rage of, oh no, they did something different, and it isn't even like, say, the change itself didn't detract from the original story, like say Long Halloween's changes.
It's there to give more context to just who Barbara Gordon is, and I think it helps. It really does.
We need. I only know Barbara Gordon through cultural osmosis. Like, I have not seen any. I've been watching Batman the Animated Series. I haven't seen any of her episodes in that because I know she shows up.
You're coming up on her first appearance in Heart of Steel. That'll be.
No, but again,
that'll be coming up soon. Yeah, she's not Batgirl in it, but it's Barbara Gordon just as a character. She's cool.
But
So
it's a good film.
you also asked me before we did this, like if there was a film equivalent, like if any element of Killing Joke was adapted into a live action film, what would it be? And I said, well, Batman '89, the 1989 Batman film, the Tim Burton one, and so we both rewatched that. I think just yesterday, right? And
I split it up between 2 days just because the insanity of timing and life. But yeah.
Gotcha. See, I actually did a double feature yesterday. I did the Killing Joke animated film, and then I did Batman '89 following it. So it was cool. It was a cool thing back to back. You do see the Killing Joke influence there, not enough because it was still a fairly recent film, but it's definitely there. You know, the specifically in the Joker's origin, and you pointed out that that
the
that
ending.
mhm. You saw that vendetta between Batman and Joker as
It's
a sort
it's
of
a bit recontextualized with what Burton's doing with Batman.
yeah,
Obviously,
making Joker the guy that killed his parents.
killed his parents.
Yeah.
But of course, the interesting things that are kept are the Batman's not the one that's responsible for Jack Napier falling into the acid.
Mm-hmm.
It's explicit that Napier's outright a villain from the word go.
Yeah. They don't do the whole like, oh yeah, there are multiple guys that are the Red Hood. And also, I mean, like, I'm not complaining because I just fucking love Jack Nicholson in that role. So
Nicholson is so good, and again, the makeup on Nicholson as the Joker. You interestingly have a semi-similar scene to the scene in the insane asylum where Bruce takes away the makeup done in reverse with Vicky Vale at the museum.
oh yeah.
There was a
With
bunch of
a killer
imagery.
with a killer custom made Prince soundtrack.
So when I first saw that movie, I had no idea who Prince was. I didn't know who Billy D. Williams was.
Oh, you poor soul. You poor soul. No, there's a whole soundtrack that Prince made for the movie. It's great. It's actually a really good album. I like it a lot. That, and of course Billy D is Harvey Dent. Fucking love him in that role.
The soundtrack to '89 is the brilliance of Elfman's composition under the amazing baton of one Shirley Walker.
There's actually I'll mention it off recording, but there is an actor in Batman '89 who grew up and like was very active in the area that I live in, so it's cool.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, I'll say who when we're done because I don't want to say that on the recording actually. Yeah, just a genuinely great film though, just a great film. Man, okay, so
it owes as much to the Killing Joke as it owes to the '60s Batman show.
That's a weird observation, but yeah, you're kind of right.
I'm not wrong with the way Commissioner Gordon's portrayed, with the way Alfred's portrayed. The tone is very different.
Pat Hingle as Gordon is the weirdest fucking casting. I can't. I don't know. I think it's. What's up?
Gordon's portrayed as kind of a bumbler, and
yeah, I don't know. He's just. I don't know. It's just a weird casting. I like him, but it's just weird. Actually, one of my favorite parts of the film is Robert Wool as Knox. I think he's a really fun original character.
It's a shame. It's a shame that like some of the continuity didn't really match up between Batman and Batman Returns. Honestly.
Yeah, I was actually mentioning this to my brother yesterday after I finished watching it. I was like, I was thinking that like there's this weird era of films that sort of took the Bond route of just like the love interest of the main character just fucking disappeared by the time the sequel comes around.
Yeah, I mean,
because there was like this. There was
Schumacher intended to have Michelle Pfeiffer in, and she only like both Burton and Schumacher intended to have Michelle Pfeiffer in what became Forever until I think with scheduling conflicts that didn't work that out.
Just to think of like all the films like that like the Indiana Jones films do that. It's just I don't know. It's a weird trend within like 70s and 80s films.
It's weird, like because this very much sets up it doesn't set up an immediate sequel, but it leaves it open ended enough that there's going to be a sequel.
Oh, that's right. Fucking Porkins from Star Wars was in it. That's right.
Very weird.
Fucking William Hootkins, my son. I love him. Okay, anyway. All right, I think that's it. Wow, this episode ended up being way longer than I thought it would be. Wow. Okay.
I
Well,
think you just got to accept that is going to happen.
sound off in the comments and let us know what you think of Killing Joke. I'm curious to see if we get anyone disagreeing with us on this, because it's very possible.
If you disagree, let us know. We just ask for a modicum of respect in the comments.
Yeah, just be nice. There's civilized conversation to be had about it without being mean. So I guess now it's time to reveal what we're doing next time. So next time on Fresh Faced Comics, we'll be covering Batman Year One by Frank Miller. I will leave a link to I will be leaving a link to Batman Year One in the description, like I did last time. If you want to read The Killing Joke, the link to that will also be in the description. There'll be Amazon Prime links that you could follow and get the books as soon as possible if you have Amazon Prime, of course. Even then, just regular Amazon shipping is pretty fast. But yeah, so they'll all be there. I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Until next time, this has been Joey Morgan. This is when you say, and Jacob Licklider.
And Jacob Licklider, you didn't prep me for this. And Jacob Licklider.
Goodbye.